Let's jump right into this explainer where we're going to explore our absolutely massive evolutionary family tree. We're tracing our roots all the way from our most ancient ancestors right down to the last ape standing. I'm so incredibly excited to share this with you because the story of how we got here, it is packed with bizarre creatures, fascinating survival strategies, and a family history that's way more crowded than you might actually think. We're going to dive into some incredible research today to really understand the primate world. Here is our game plan for today. First, we'll meet your ape ancestors. Second, we're branching out into the lesser apes. Third, the great apes. Fourth, our hominid cousins. And fifth, the last ape standing. All right, let's kick things off with part one, meet your ape ancestors. Okay, so how do you actually tell a monkey from an ape? It's honestly surprisingly simple. They parted ways evolution-wise about 25 to 30 million years ago. Now, there are a couple of wild exceptions out there, but generally speaking, size and tails are your dead giveaways. Monkeys usually have tails, apes don't. So yeah, by those rules, we humans are absolutely apes. As we start digging into the fossils of our ancestors, you're going to hear the root term Pythecus popping up constantly. It basically just means primate. And our story really gets going with Rukwaficus. This was a tiny 5-kilo missing link from 25 million years ago, found in modern-day Tanzania. It was literally one of the very first true apes. And wow, we had some seriously wild early ancestors. I mean, think about Gigantopithecus. This guy was a 10-foot, half-ton behemoth, just chilling out, peacefully gnawing on bamboo all day. Then you've got Oreopithecus, which is a total oddball. Because it lived on a predator-free island in the Mediterranean 6 to 8 million years ago, it actually developed flat feet and started walking upright on 2 legs millions of years before any other ape even thought about it. And talk about environment shaping evolution. It also grew these incredibly long arms just to reach into mucky bogs for its favorite swamp grass. Moving right along to part 2, branching out to the lesser apes. So, you might be wondering why there are just so many more lesser ape species than great apes. Well, the secret is that lesser apes are constantly reshuffling their genetics. Scientists are actually still trying to figure out exactly why, but when a population splinters off from the main group, they rapidly evolve an entirely new number of chromosomes. That completely isolates them, meaning they can't interbreed with the original group anymore. Boom, you've instantly got a brand new species. And let me tell you, they are unbelievable athletes. Just look at the agile gibbon. When they're swinging through the forest canopy, they can hit speeds up to 55 kilometers per hour. That is basically highway speed, up in the trees. And their raw leaping power is just staggering, 15 meters. That's how far they can fly through the air. They are literally launching themselves across gaps the exact length of a full-sized semi-trailer. Just imagine seeing that happen right over your head. The lesser ape branch is just so wonderfully diverse. You've got the romantic gibbons, singing these elaborate morning duets that act as a love language, but also cleverly double as a way to share predator warnings. Then there's the Skywalker hulak gibbon, which, yes, was discovered just 10 years ago by researchers who were massive Star Wars nerds. Sadly, we also have the Hainan black-crested gibbon. Thanks to deforestation, it's the most endangered primate in the world right now, with fewer than 50 left. And finally, the siamang. It's the heavyweight of the bunch at 15 kilos, and it uses this massive inflatable throat sac to just boom its songs across the whole forest. All right, let's jump to part 3, the great apes. Now, the great ape we're actually the least related to is the solitary orangutan. Their name literally translates to forest person in Malay. They spend almost all their time high up in the trees, especially in places like Sumatra, where you've got hungry tigers prowling the ground down below. This group also includes the incredibly rare Tapanuli species. They're totally isolated in one tiny corner of Sumatra, and there are less than 1,000 of them left. Moving a bit closer to us on the family tree, we've got the clever, incredibly massive gorillas. These guys are so smart that some have actually been seen using sticks to measure the depth of a stream before they cross it. And their peaceful presence is a massive economic driver. $60 million. That's the annual tourism revenue generated just by the mountain gorillas in Africa. People are traveling from all over the globe for the chance to sit near these gentle giants. Next up, we arrive at our absolute closest living relatives. We diverged from them about 5 million years ago. But around 1 million years ago, this group actually split into 2 vastly different societies, mostly because the Congo River widened and separated them. On one side, you had bonobos. They didn't have to compete with gorillas for food, so they became this peaceful, bohemian society, famous for basically settling all their disputes with snuggles. On the other side of the river, chimpanzees faced a much tougher environment. They became highly territorial, going on these violent patrols, but they also developed incredibly intricate cultural traditions, like mothers actively teaching their kids how to fashion twigs to fish for termites. I absolutely love this quote from the source material. It just hits the nail on the head regarding the bonobo personality. So while chimps were out there inventing hunting tools and getting into turf wars, you had peaceful bonobos like Kanzi who were literally learning complex modified language to communicate. And get this, he was apparently an avid gamer who loved kicking back and playing Minecraft. No way, right? It's just a stunning reminder of the wildly different paths evolution can take. Which brings us to part 4, our hominid cousins. Our direct lineage evolved incredibly fast. Around 4 million years ago, we had Australopithecus afarensis. You've probably heard of the most famous fossil, Lucy, a 4-foot-tall fruit eater who was actually named after the Beatles song that was playing on the radio during her excavation. By 2.5 million years ago, Homo habilis shows up on the scene, scavenging meat and crafting the very first stone tools. And then, by 2 million years ago, Homo erectus evolved. They looked a lot more like us, with long legs for walking vast distances, and they were the very first to use fire and migrate out of Africa. But here's the thing. Homo sapiens didn't just evolve in a vacuum. A couple 100,000 years ago, Earth was incredibly diverse. We were sharing the planet with a whole neighborhood of different human species. You had the big, robust Neanderthals hunting mammoths and painting caves up in northern Europe. You had the Denisovans making jewelry high up in the mountains of Asia. Heidelbergensis was out there taking down straight-tusked elephants. And out on isolated islands, things got really weird. We had the 3.5-foot-tall Homo floresiensis hunting dwarf elephants and Homo luzonensis in the Philippines, who actually re-evolved curved hands specifically for climbing trees. And these different human species weren't just passively sharing the globe. They were actively interacting. We literally have the DNA proof of this ancient intermingling. Down in a cave in Siberia, researchers actually found the remains of a human who had a Denisovan father and a Neanderthal mother. So they met, they mingled, and they formed entirely blended, multi-species families. It really was a thriving, interconnected human world. And finally, part 5, the last ape standing. So while all those other species were living their lives, small bands of Homo sapiens were slowly spreading out of Africa. And over hundreds of thousands of years, our specific species developed a major edge. We utilized complex language and abstract thought, and we grew these massive social networks that allowed us to pass down vital skills and traditions across generations way more effectively than anyone else. Over time, the rest of our human cousins either died off due to changing climates, or they simply interbred with our massive, constantly spreading populations. Which brings us to today. Homo sapiens are the absolute last humans in existence. Out of that massive, beautifully diverse ape family tree, filled with bipedal walkers, giant bamboo eaters, and tool-making cousins, we are the only ape left capable of creating an explainer to look back at our own amazing history. It's honestly a pretty haunting but beautiful thought. We completely dominate the globe right now, but when you look back at our roots, it really leaves you wondering, if those ancient sibling species were still walking right beside us today, how differently would we view our place in the natural world? Keep exploring your roots and never forget just how uniquely wild our journey to the present really was.